John stood on the surface of the alien planet, his eyes scanning the horizon. He had been sent here by Earth's Galactic Council to establish peaceful relations with the alien species that called this planet home. The air was thick with the scent of strange flowers, and the sky was a mix of vibrant colors, something John had never seen before. It was beautiful and otherworldly, yet there was something about it that made him feel small. He wasn't the first human to visit alien planets, but this place was different. This was the home of the Volari, a species unlike any John had ever encountered. Their tall frames, glowing skin, and large, expressive eyes made them seem almost otherworldly. They were peaceful by nature, but their ways were not easily understood by humans. John had been briefed on their culture, but nothing had prepared him for meeting Alaya. Alaya was the leader of the Volari. She was a woman unlike any John had ever seen. She carried herself with an air of authority, yet there was a softness in her eyes that made him feel at ease. Her glowing silver skin shimmered in the light, and her eyes seemed to change colors depending on the angle.
Ow.
They were a deep shade of purple, but sometimes they appeared blue or even gold. John couldn't stop staring at her, but he quickly forced himself to look away, feeling embarrassed. He had spent weeks working alongside her, learning about her people and trying to find a way for humans and Volari to coexist. Every day he watched her with admiration, seeing the strength and wisdom in her actions. Yet there was always something more, something unspoken between them. It was in the way she smiled at him when no one was looking, or how her voice would soften when she spoke to him. One afternoon, John found himself walking beside Alia as they toured the peaceful gardens near the city. The flowers around them bloomed in colors that John couldn't describe, and the air was filled with a sweet, calming scent. The Volari were proud of their gardens. They believed in the connection between nature and the spirit, and they had cultivated these gardens for centuries. "Do you miss Earth?" Alia asked suddenly, breaking the silence between them. Her voice was gentle, and she kept her eyes focused on the path ahead. "The people you left behind." John hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to answer. "Sometimes," he said, "but it's not the same. This place, this planet, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. I didn't expect to feel so connected." Alia turned to him, her eyes searching his face. "You feel that too?" she asked softly. "It is the land. The spirit of this place connects with everyone who visits, even those from far away." John felt a strange warmth spread through him at her words. It wasn't just the planet that had made him feel connected, though. It was Alia. There was something about her, something that drew him in. Couldn't explain it, but every time he was around her, his heart beat a little faster. They walked in silence for a few more minutes. The weight of their conversation hanging in the air, John felt nervous. There were so many things he wanted to say to her, but the words seemed to get stuck in his throat. She was the leader of her people, a strong and respected figure. She had no reason to look at a human like him, especially in the way that he had begun to look at her. Alia paused, glancing over at John with a curious look in her eyes. "Why do you hesitate?" she asked, as if she could read his mind. "There is something you wish to say." John's heart raced. He looked at her, meeting her gaze. I've been wondering something," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He could feel his palms start to sweat, and he quickly wiped them on his pants. Alia tilted her head slightly, intrigued. "What is it, John?" He swallowed hard, trying to find the right words. "I've been here for a while now, and I've seen the way you lead your people. I've seen the kindness in you, Alia, and I can't help but feel that there's something between us, something I can't explain." Alia didn't speak at first, her expression unreadable. John's heart sank. Fearing he had said too much, he turned away, staring at the ground. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything," he muttered. "No," Alia said, her voice calm. "You are right to speak your heart. I have felt it too." John froze, his eyes lifting to meet hers. "You have?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Alia nodded slowly. "Yes. There is a bond between us, John. It is not just the work we do together. It is something deeper, something I cannot ignore." John's chest tightened. Could it be? Could she feel the same way he did? He had spent so many nights thinking about her, wondering if she would ever see him as more than just a diplomat, more than just a human trying to make peace. He hesitated for a moment. Then, without thinking, he whispered, "I wondered if you'd marry me." The words slipped out before he could stop them, and he immediately regretted them. What had he done? Why had he said that? It was foolish, it was impulsive, and it was certainly too soon. Alia turned to face him fully, her eyes widening in surprise. She was silent for a long moment, and John held his breath, waiting for her to respond. Finally she spoke, her voice soft and gentle. "I thought you would never ask." John's heart skipped a beat. He stared at her, his mind racing. What did that mean? Could it be true? Could she feel the same way? Alia smiled, a small, knowing smile, and took a step closer to him. "Ha! Felt this too," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I was waiting for you to say it." John felt as if the world had paused. The air between him and Alia felt thick with unspoken words, with emotions that neither of them had fully acknowledged until now. Her response echoed in his mind. "I thought you would never ask." He couldn't believe it. His heart raced as he stared at her, feeling as though he had stepped into an entirely new chapter of his life. Alia's smile grew as she saw the surprise on John's face. "I didn't want to rush things," she said softly, her voice calm and reassuring. "But I felt the same way for some time." John swallowed, his mind still processing what she had just revealed. He had thought about this moment countless times, but now that it was real, he was unsure how to respond. It felt surreal. "I never imagined. I didn't think you'd—" He trailed off, unsure how to put his feelings into words. Alia placed a gentle hand on his arm, a touch that calmed his racing heart. "You're not the only one with doubts, John. I am not the same as you, and our worlds are so different. But when I look at you, I don't see a human or a Valari. I see a person, someone who cares, someone who listens." John nodded, a smile finally breaking through as he realized that she had been struggling with the same feelings. "I care about you, Alia," he said, his voice sincere. "I've always wanted to understand you, your world, your people. And now I just want to understand us together." Her eyes softened, and for a brief moment they stood there in silence, just absorbing the weight of the moment. The world around them seemed to fade, leaving only the two of them standing in a peaceful garden. "I never thought this would be possible," John said quietly, his voice almost a whisper as he glanced at her glowing skin, her expression so gentle yet strong. "I thought I was just here to help with the mission, to be part of the diplomatic effort, but you've made everything different." Alia smiled, and for a moment the air felt lighter. "I'm glad," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "You've taught me that maybe we can be more than what we've been told our species should be. Perhaps we don't need to be so distant." John's heart soared at her words. He had always felt that deep down, their differences didn't matter as much as the connection they shared. Despite everything, the cultural gaps, the political differences, the fact that they came from different worlds, they had found something real. Alia moved a step closer, her gaze never leaving his. "But we will face challenges," she said, her voice turning serious. "Our people may not understand this connection. They may not approve. There is much at stake." John's expression grew more determined. "We'll face them together," he said firmly, his voice filled with confidence. "Whatever happens, we'll stand side by side. We've already come this far, right?" Alia nodded, her eyes shining. She reached out, taking his hand in hers. The contact sent a warmth through John, and he held her hand gently, knowing that they were both stepping into something unknown, something extraordinary. "I don't know what's ahead of us, but I don't want to face it alone," she admitted, her voice steady. "I want to see where this path takes us. With you." John smiled, squeezing her hand. "I don't want to face it alone either." The two of them stood together, basking in the glow of a new bond. The garden around them felt more alive, the air richer with promise. John couldn't remember ever feeling so connected to another person or to an alien being. Alia had opened up a world he never thought he'd be a part of, and now they were both ready to explore it together. The next few days passed quickly. John and Alia continued their work together, now with a deeper understanding of one another. Their discussions were no longer just about diplomacy or alliances. They spoke about their hopes, their dreams, and the future they could build. John found himself looking at Alia in a new light. Seeing more than just a leader of a species, he saw someone who cared, someone who was just as vulnerable as he was. Their relationship began to grow. Slowly at first, as they navigated the complexities of their worlds and their feelings. Despite the growing affection between them, both of them knew that their bond would not be accepted by everyone. The Volari were proud of their traditions, and humans, though eager to explore new alliances, were still conservative when it came to relationships with other species. One evening, after a long day of discussions with the council members, John and Alia sat together in the garden once again. The sun had just set, and the sky above was filled with stars. The tranquility of the moment made it feel as though the rest of the galaxy didn't matter. "I've been thinking," John said, looking up at the sky. "I wonder what the future holds. What happens if we do this? What happens if we go forward?" Alia looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "We will make it," she said confidently. "The path may not be easy, but we are strong together. We have a purpose. And no matter what happens, we will create something better." John smiled, feeling a sense of peace settle in his heart. It didn't matter what challenges lay ahead. What mattered was that they had found something real between them, something that could change the fate of their worlds. He reached over and took her hand, just as he had done so many times before. But this time, it felt different. This time, it felt like a promise. "I'm with you, Alia," he said quietly, looking into her eyes. "I'm with you." Alia smiled back, her eyes soft and full of trust. "And I am with you, John, always." The future may have been uncertain, but in that moment it didn't matter. No, they had each other, and together, they were ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store. The days that followed felt like a dream to John. The connection between him and Alia grew stronger with each passing moment. They were no longer just two people from different species working together for a common cause. There was something more, now a bond that was unspoken but undeniable. As the sun dipped below the horizon one evening, casting a golden glow across the alien landscape, John and Alia stood side by side in the peaceful garden. The air was cool and calm, and the stars above began to twinkle, as though the universe itself was watching over them. John took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace that he hadn't experienced in a long time. Being with Alia made everything seem simpler, more meaningful. There was no fear of the unknown anymore, no uncertainty. He knew what he wanted, and he knew that what he felt for her was real. He glanced at Alia, who was standing a little ahead of him, her gaze lost in the distance. Her silvery skin shimmered softly in the fading light, and her long flowing hair swayed gently in the breeze. She looked every bit the leader she was, yet there was a softness about her when she wasn't speaking, a quiet grace that John couldn't help but admire. "Alia," he began, his voice quiet but steady, "I've been thinking a lot." Alia turned her head to look at him, her purple eyes glowing faintly in the evening light. "About what?" she asked, her voice calm, but filled with curiosity. John swallowed, his heart racing in his chest. He had thought about this moment for days, but now that it was here, he wasn't sure if he was ready. But the words were already forming in his mind, and he knew that he had to say them. "I've been thinking about us," he said, "about everything we've shared, the moments we've had, and how much I've come to care for you. More than I ever thought possible." Alia's expression softened, and she took a small step toward him. "I feel the same way, John," she said, her voice gentle. "I have for some time now. But I didn't want to risk everything for something that may not even be possible." John took a deep breath, gathering his courage. This was it. "I want to be with you, Alia. I want to share my life with you. I know it won't be easy. ... I know there will be challenges, but I don't care. I just know that I want to be with you." Alia was silent for a moment, her eyes searching his face. John felt a rush of anxiety. What if she didn't feel the same way anymore? What if she had changed her mind? The silence between them seemed to stretch on forever. Finally, Alia spoke, her voice soft and sincere. John, I've been afraid that what we have wouldn't be accepted by our people. By your people. I've been afraid that I would have to choose between you and my people. But now, standing here with you, I realize that it's not about choosing. It's about what we can create together. John's heart swelled with relief. She felt the same. She wanted this as much as he did. He stepped closer to her, his hand reaching out to gently take hers. The warmth of her touch sent a wave of comfort through him. I don't want to choose either, he said, his voice filled with emotion. I just want us to have the chance to see what we can build, together. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want to face it with you by my side. Alia looked down at their joined hands, her eyes thoughtful. There will be much for us to overcome, she said. The traditions of my people, the expectations, the fears of those who think we should remain separate. But I'm willing to face all of that, if it means we can be together. John smiled, his heart full of hope. We'll face it all together, I promise. Alia stepped even closer, closing the distance between them. Her eyes locked with his, and for a moment, everything else faded away. There was only the two of them standing together under the stars. United by something deep and unshakable. Alia, John whispered, his voice low. There's something I've been wanting to ask you, something I've been too afraid to say. Before, but now, I can't keep it inside anymore. Alia's eyes softened, and she gave him a small, encouraging smile. What is it? John took a deep breath, gathering the last of his courage. I love you, Alia, he said, his words clear and full of conviction. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to be your partner, no matter what comes. Will you marry me? Alia's eyes widened, and for a moment she was silent. John's heart skipped a beat, wondering if he had made a mistake by saying too much too soon. But then, to his relief, Alia smiled, a soft, radiant smile that lit up her entire face. Yes, she whispered. Yes, John, I will marry you. John felt a rush of joy, a sense of relief flooding through him. He had been nervous about asking her, unsure of how she would respond. But now that the words were out in the open, everything felt right. Alia was with him, and they had a future together. He gently pulled her into his arms, holding her close as the cool night air surrounded them. Alia rested her head on his chest, and they stood there in silence for a moment, savoring the quiet beauty of the night. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if it too was waiting for their next move. As the stars above twinkled brightly, John knew that they were about to embark on a journey that would change everything. His side, he felt ready for whatever the future held. The days after John and Alia's confession felt like a dream. Everything seemed brighter, more alive. The connection between them had only grown stronger. And the joy of knowing they were on the same path was something neither of them could ignore. They spent every moment they could together, working, talking, and sharing dreams of the future. But with every growing bond came new challenges. The tension between their worlds was becoming more real. Alia's people, the Valari, had always been proud of their traditions. The idea of an interspecies relationship was still unthinkable to many. While Alia's position as a leader gave her power, it also brought responsibility. And she knew her people expected her to uphold their values. As they sat together in the peaceful garden one evening, John could see the concern in Alia's eyes. The stars above twinkled brightly, but the weight of the situation was heavy between them. John, Alia began, her voice soft but full of concern. I've been thinking, our relationship, it's not just about us anymore. There are many who would not accept it. My people, your people, they may never approve. John looked at her, his heart heavy with the realization that their love was not going to be simple. I know, he said quietly. I knew it wouldn't be easy. We can't hide what we feel. I believe in us, Alia. I believe that we can show everyone that love isn't bound by species or borders. It's about who we are together, Alia nodded, but there was a shadow in her eyes. It's not just about love, John. There are politics, expectations, and the future of our people. I cannot ignore the responsibility I have as their leader. There are forces at play that would see us fail. I must make decisions that may hurt us. John reached for her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. Whatever happens, we face it together. We've been through so much already, and I know we can handle whatever comes next. If we stand united, we can break down those walls. Alia looked down at their hands, her mind racing with the weight of everything that had happened. Her people had always respected her strength, her ability to lead. But leading also meant making difficult choices. She wasn't sure how to balance her role as a leader with her feelings for John. There were moments when she wondered if her duty would always come before her happiness. "I'm afraid, John," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Afraid that I'll lose everything, the trust of my people, my position, and you. I don't want to let you go, but I can't turn my back on my people either." John's heart ached at the pain in her voice. He wanted nothing more than to ease her worries, but he knew that the road ahead would not be easy. "You don't have to lose anything, Alia. We're stronger together, and I believe we can change things. It won't happen overnight, but we can start with small steps. We can show them that what we have is real, and that it can bring us closer, not tear us apart." Alia looked up at him, her eyes filled with both doubt and hope. "Do you really think we can change this? Can we convince them? Or are we just setting ourselves up for failure?" John's expression was filled with determination. "I know it won't be easy. There will be resistance. There will be people who try to tear us down, but we're not giving up. Not now, not ever." Alia took a deep breath, the weight of the situation sinking in. "You're right," she said finally. "We won't give up. We'll fight for what we believe in, together." The next few days were filled with preparations. John and Alia continued their work, but now there was an added urgency in their steps. They knew they had to act quickly if they were to convince both their people that their relationship was not a threat but an opportunity for growth and unity. Alia decided to bring the matter to the Volari Council, a group of respected leaders who governed her people. It was a bold move, one that could change everything for her. But she knew it was the only way forward. She needed their support if there was any hope of changing the way her people viewed relationships with outsiders. The night before the meeting, John and Alia stood together on the balcony overlooking the city. The stars were brighter than ever, and the city below was quiet, as though it too was holding its breath. "This is it," Alia said, her voice steady but tinged with nervousness. "Tomorrow, I face my people. I don't know what will happen, but I'm ready to speak the truth. I just hope they listen." John placed a hand on her shoulder, offering his support. "You've always been a great leader, Alia, and now you're showing your people that leadership isn't just about power, it's about love too. I'm proud of you." Alia turned to face him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, John. I'm glad I don't have to face this alone." The next day, they entered the council hall. The room was large and imposing, filled with the leaders of the Volari. Their eyes were all on Alia as she took her place at the front. Tension in the room was palpable. Alia began to speak, her voice calm but powerful. She spoke of the connection she and John shared, how it had brought them closer, how it could bring their people closer as well. She explained the potential for unity, the chance to bridge the gap between their species and build something better for the future. Some of the council members listened quietly, while others exchanged skeptical glances. There was a silence that followed, and Alia felt her heart race. She had never felt so vulnerable, standing before her people, asking them to accept something that was so foreign to their way of life. But she didn't back down. She continued, her words full of passion and conviction. "We are not just two people. We are a symbol of what we can achieve together. We can move beyond fear, beyond tradition, and create a future that is stronger than we ever imagined." Finally, one of the older members of the council spoke. "This is a bold idea, Alia," he said, his voice stern. "But it is not an easy one. The people may not understand. You may be risking everything for a dream." Alia nodded, her expression unwavering. "I am willing to take that risk," she said quietly, "because I believe in it, and I believe in us." The days after the council meeting were filled with uncertainty. John and Alia had spoken their truth, but the real test had just begun. The Valari Council had not given an immediate decision. They had agreed to discuss the matter among themselves. But Alia knew that not everyone would be open to the idea of her relationship with John. It would take time and the right words to change their minds. John could sense the tension in the air as he and Alia continued their work together. Their days were filled with planning, discussions, and small victories as they pushed forward with their mission to unite their species. Yet in the back of their minds, the question lingered. Would the council accept them? Alia's determination remained strong, but John could see the weight of the situation on her. She had always been a leader, strong and unshaken, but this was different. This wasn't just a political decision. It was personal. The lives of their people were at stake, and Alia felt responsible for both her people and for her relationship with John. One evening, after a long day of meetings, they sat together in a quiet room, away from the pressures of their duties. The light from the setting sun filtered through the windows, casting a warm glow across the room. It was a peaceful moment, but John could see the concern in Alia's eyes. "Alia, you don't have to carry all of this alone," John said, his voice filled with quiet understanding. "I'm here always. We'll get through this together, no matter what happens." Alia looked at him, her expression softening. "No, you're here, John," she said quietly. But I feel the weight of my people's expectations. Their leader? I have to make decisions that affect everyone. If they don't accept us, it won't just be a personal loss. It will be a failure for the Valari. I'm afraid that I'll lose everything I've worked for." John reached out, gently taking her hand. "You haven't lost anything yet," he said, his voice steady. "We don't know what the council will decide, but I do know that no matter what happens, I'm with you. I'll stand by your side. You won't be alone in this." Alia squeezed his hand, her eyes filled with both gratitude and sadness. "Don't want to fail, John. I don't want to fail you." "You won't," John said, his voice firm. "I believe in you, and I believe in us." They sat together in silence for a moment, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. The future was uncertain, and the challenges ahead were still unclear. But in that moment, they found comfort in each other's presence. They knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together. The following days brought tension and quiet whispers throughout the Valari city. The council members had begun their deliberations, and the news of Alia's relationship with John had spread quickly. Some of the people embraced the idea, believing that this could be the beginning of a new era of unity and peace. But there were others who opposed it, fearing that it would destroy their culture and traditions. The division between the two sides became more apparent, and Alia knew that it was only a matter of time before the council would make its decision. The night before the council was to announce its verdict, Kalia and John stood together on the balcony of her home. The city below was quiet, the stars above shining brightly. The weight of the upcoming decision pressed heavily on both of them. "I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow," Alia said, her voice filled with quiet uncertainty. "Given everything to my people, I've fought for their future. But now, I'm asking them to accept something they've never considered. What if they don't understand?" John turned to face her, his hand gently cupping her cheek. "Alia, they will understand. You're a leader, and you've led with courage and strength. If anyone can show them that this is the right path, it's you." Alia met his gaze, her eyes filled with both doubt and hope. "What if they don't? What if they reject us?" "If they do," John said quietly, "we'll find another way. We'll keep fighting for what we believe in. We won't give up." Alia smiled softly, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Thank you, John," she whispered, "for everything." The next day, the council gathered to announce their decision. The room was tense, filled with the weight of uncertainty. Alia stood at the front, her posture strong but her heart racing. John stood beside her, his presence a silent support. He knew that whatever the council decided, they would have to face the consequences together. The chief elder of the council, a wise and respected leader, stood and addressed the room. "We have heard your arguments, Alia," he said, his voice grave. We have listened to the concerns of your people and the human visitors. And now, we must decide what is best for the future of the Volari. Alia felt her heart pounding in her chest as the elder continued. The relationship between you and the human is unorthodox. It challenges our traditions. But we must also consider the future of our people. Change is inevitable, and we must ask ourselves whether we are ready to embrace it. There was a long pause. Alia's mind raced, and she could feel John's hand tighten around hers. Finally, the elder spoke again. We have decided to give this relationship a chance, but we will not rush. We will allow time for our people to understand, to see that it is not a threat to our way of life. We will support you, Alia, but know that there will be those who will resist. Alia felt a wave of relief wash over her, but she also knew that this was just the beginning. There would still be challenges ahead, and not everyone would accept their love. But for now, they had taken the first step. Thank you, Alia said, her voice steady. Thank you for giving us this chance. John smiled at her, his heart full. We'll make it work, he whispered, together. The council's decision had set the stage for a new chapter in their lives. Alia and John knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they had faced many challenges together already. Now they had each other's support, and that made all the difference. Despite the mixed reactions of the Volari people, they had taken a step toward acceptance, and that gave them hope in the days that followed. Alia and John worked even harder to strengthen the bond between their worlds. They met with more council members, discussed plans for future collaboration, and worked together to ease the fears of the people. Alia was still a leader, but now she was also someone who dared to stand for something different. Something new. John admired her courage. He saw the weight she carried, not just as a leader, but also as someone trying to bridge two very different worlds. Despite the occasional doubts she voiced, Alia continued to work tirelessly, showing her people that there was nothing to fear from their alliance with humanity. One evening, after a long day of discussions, Alia and John walked through the city together. The sky above was clear, and the air was cool, but the evening still felt heavy with the thoughts of their future. John looked over at Alia, noticing the exhaustion in her eyes. She had been carrying so much for so long, and he knew she was ready for a break. We've made it this far, John said, breaking the silence. We're going to make it through the rest. Together. Alia smiled at him, her tiredness giving way to a flicker of hope. I'm starting to believe that, she replied. I've spent so much time trying to lead, trying to please everyone. But now I'm starting to see that the most important thing is what we have, what we want. They stopped walking, standing by a small fountain in the middle of the city square. The sound of the water flowing was peaceful, a welcome contrast to the tension that often filled their days. Alia turned to John, her eyes searching his face. I've been thinking, she began slowly. What if we didn't just stop here? What if we did something bigger? Something that would help the whole galaxy understand our bond? Raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her words. What do you mean? Alia's gaze grew distant for a moment, as if she were imagining the possibilities. I mean, ... What if we took our relationship further? Not just as two people, but as a symbol. A symbol of unity between our species. If we could show others that we can live together, learn from each other, and even love each other, maybe we could create real change. John felt his heart swell with admiration. Alia was always thinking ahead, always looking for ways to make a difference. Like the sound of that, he said, his voice filled with hope. It would be a way to show the galaxy that we're stronger when we come together, and that no matter our differences, we can find common ground. Alia smiled, a sense of peace settling over her. Yes, she said softly. I hope for us, for everyone. As the days turned into weeks, John and Alia continued their work with renewed purpose. They spoke with more people, both humans and Volaria, about the importance of unity. They addressed fears, dispelled misunderstandings, and shared the beauty of their relationship. Slowly, the tide began to turn. There were still those who resisted the idea of a human-Volaria alliance, but they were becoming fewer. Many began to see the potential for growth, for progress, in this unexpected partnership. And with each new person they convinced, the dream of a united galaxy seemed closer to reality. But for John and Alia, the most important thing was what they had built together. Their love had grown stronger with each passing day, and no matter what happened with their people, they knew they had found something truly special, something that was worth fighting for. One evening, as they walked together in the quiet of the city, John turned to Alia with a serious look on his face. "Alia, I know we've talked about the future, but I need to ask you something that's been on my mind for a while now." Alia stopped walking, her curiosity piqued. "What is it, John?" John took a deep breath, his heart beating faster than usual. "I want to make a promise to you. Promise that no matter what happens, no matter the challenges we face, I will always stand by you. I want to marry you, Alia. I want to spend my life with you. Will you be with me, always?" Alia looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise. For a moment, she was silent, as if weighing the words in her heart. Then, without a second thought, she smiled softly. "Yes, John. Yes, I will marry you. I want to be with you too, forever." John felt his heart soar as the words sank in. He pulled her close, holding her tightly, knowing that they had just taken another step toward their future together. The path ahead might still be uncertain, but with Alia by his side, he knew they could face anything. And so, they continued their journey not just as two people from different worlds, but as partners in every sense of the word. They were building something together, something that transcended boundaries and defied expectations. They were proof that love could unite even the most unlikely of beings, and that together, they were stronger than any challenge that stood in their way. As they stood together in the fading light, the city around them alive with the sounds of the night, John and Alia knew that the future was theirs to create. And with love as their guide, they were ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store.